Up, everybody? Welcome back to Voices of Impact. I'm Michelle Jewsbury, your host, CEO and founder of Unsilenced Voices, and helping people tell their stories all over the world. Today, I am super excited to bring you our next guest, Maria Chapman. Well, Maria, thank you so much for being here.
I am happy to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, so why don't you tell me and our audience a little bit about who you are?
Sure. I'm Maria Chapman. I am a business owner, entrepreneur, nonprofit founder, ghostwriter, mother, disability advocate. Those are all my roles. Those are the
Okay, that's a
um,
lot of roles.
it is. I own Connected Ghostwriting. We write for mental health and social justice professionals. And that's my day job that I do during the day when I also run a nonprofit called Journey to Success, where we help disabled folks who are disabled mid-career start businesses
Okay.
so that they can be working in a way that works for their lives and not have to go the disability route and give up on success.
Yeah.
We just redefine it.
I love that. So, I also run a nonprofit called Unsilenced Voices. Very excited to kind of dive a little bit deeper into why you've created the nonprofit and exactly what you do. So, when did you found the nonprofit and how did that all start?
I've started dreaming about it 3 years ago. I submitted some grants last year. I got funding and officially became a thing December 12th. So
What
we
year?
are, we're a baby
Of
organization.
2024?
Yeah, 2024. So, and now it's the end of January 2025. So we're about a month and a half into existence. Uh, but
Congratulations.
we're sort of building the plane while we're flying it. So there's no website yet, but we're already helping people that have applied to our program. And we're sort of figuring it out as we go, which is my favorite way to do anything.
Okay, and so you wrote some grants. You were given grants without 501c3 status yet?
Yes, I found an amazing foundation through my network that funds interesting and different projects. And I submitted an application. It took about a year for all of that process to go through. And so there was a lot of waiting and a lot of dreaming and thinking about what we could be doing. Um, and then, yeah, we got a $150,000 grant in December. So
Oh, that's absolutely amazing. You're going to have to hook me up with that person.
we can chat about that. Yeah, for sure.
That sounds awesome. So, why focus on helping disabled individuals?
This is as any nonprofit founder knows, it's always from personal story,
Yep.
right?
So,
In 2019, I was in my 15th year of working in education. I was a teacher and a literacy facilitator for 15 years. And so at the time, I was teaching teachers how to teach reading and writing. And I developed two different neuromuscular conditions and I didn't know what was going on. And it was like a slow, steady decline over about 18 months. And then November of 2019, I was paralyzed
hmm,
from those conditions. And then I never went back to teaching. I never went back to the schools after that. There was FMLA and then COVID hit. They wouldn't let me work from home because I wasn't able to go back into the schools full time. So they said, well, we can't even have you working from home. So it was this very weird situation and like suddenly lost my entire income. Um, and the teachers retirement board ended up medically retiring me.
okay.
And I started freelance writing because I only had about 5 hours a week where I could do something. So I started freelance writing and made a little bit of money there. But then some of the articles I wrote ended up being syndicated. I created a great portfolio, and then folks in my network started asking me to write for them. So
Okay.
that's how it sort of pivoted into ghostwriting. And then at that point, I hired a coach who owned a ghostwriting agency, and I said, "Teach me the things you know." And I did those things. And when you do that, things grow a little more quickly. So,
Yeah, you
uh,
definitely have to implement what you're taught. So,
right.
I do a lot of coaching as well. Nothing to do with ghostwriting. We actually uh, delegate out ghostwriting for some clients. So this is something we can talk about after this call.
Yeah, for sure.
able to implement what it is that you learn is very, very important. And oftentimes clients come in and only about 20 to 30% of people who take courses or go through different tracks or um, schooling, things like that, are actually implementing what they learn.
Right. No, exactly. And so you're right. And I think part of my background made it easier for me to do that, right? Because I come from the education background. So um of course that's something I know. But that's actually so my nonprofit is designed to help people start businesses if they're disabled mid-career. And we say start or scale because we'll take someone who has an idea sort of starting to roll and help them take it to the next level. Um, but that's one of the things that we have to do early on in our application process is sort of figure out, is this the sort of person that will implement,
Yeah.
right? Um, and that's kind of the tricky piece.
Yeah, 100%. Okay, so you started the nonprofit. You have received $150,000 in funding from a grant so far, which is great, even before you received your 501c3 status, which that's impressive. You have hit the ground running, bootstrapped. You've been doing this now for a month, so you've got, longevity ahead of you. You started all of this because you then were disabled, and then your ghostwriting is another business, right?
Yeah. So the ghostwriting is sort of what allowed me to sort of pull myself out of um that disabled no income hole that I was in.
Mhm.
I remember what the day I got the teachers retirement board paperwork saying that I was medically retired. I was sitting on the couch and the walker was in front of me and I kicked the walker across the room like a toddler having a tantrum. And I yelled at my husband. I was like, I'm not good at anything else. What am I going to do? And so going from there and then sort of figuring it out required a lot of support,
Yep.
but it also required a lot of work on that idea of, well, I'm not good at anything else.
Yeah, it's the imposter syndrome. It's
Right.
thinking.
Yeah. Yeah. It's absolutely a lie that we're programmed to tell ourselves, right? Because we train for a certain career
Yep.
and we don't necessarily see how those skills work in other areas.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's a couple things that I'm noticing right now. One is you have the writer's market sitting right next to you.
I do.
I actually recognize that because we help people publish their stories as well. And I have my second full-length book being released February 25th of 2025. So at the time of this recording, it's less than a month. Less than a month away. But
What's
we
it called?
Your ultimate breakthrough.
Okay.
Yeah. So we have used that writer's market book a lot. When I say we, my editor and I, to pitch to publishers and literary agents.
Yes.
How important do you think it is to pitch to publishers and literary agents before then taking the route of self-publishing?
Oh, I think it just depends on your goals.
Okay.
Um, so a lot of the authors I work with are entrepreneurial.
Yep.
And so the idea of a traditional publisher asking you to sign over intellectual property rights, they are not touching that. A lot of them are just not interested. I know someone who traditionally published their book and then found out that if they wanted to give a TED talk on the topic or they wanted to give a presentation at this conference on the topic, they had to have their PowerPoints, their talks approved by the publisher.
Yeah.
And for a lot of folks that I work with, that's not happening.
Yeah. Yeah. I understand. Mhm.
And so if it's someone that is really interested in maintaining those intellectual property rights, self-publishing, hybrid publishing, or an independent traditional publisher is a better option.
Mhm.
Um, I have a lot of people who have worked with independent traditional publishers. So smaller publishing houses, not one of the big five.
I like a little boutique.
Yeah, a little boutique. They don't charge for their services, which is great. I mean, you're required to buy copies of your book, but you're required to do that with any traditional publisher anyway, which is something people don't know usually. But the not signing over the intellectual property rights makes a big difference for most of the people.
100%. Yeah, 100%. So we have a book collaboration project called Breaking the Silence: Voices of Survivors. We
Mhm.
publish this every year. It's an anthology where we have up to 25, but each year so far we've had 21 authors telling their story of overcoming adversity. And we'll have volume 3 coming out in October of 2025. And it is interesting. We've decided to publish self-publishing route until a publisher comes to us and allows us to keep our intellectual property, because it's 21 stories of adversity where they are then using their stories to make a difference worldwide. So many of them have gone on and published their own stories. Many of them are speaking on stages or creating businesses or nonprofits with what they've gone through. So it's so important to be able to tell that story. Now, you tell stories for a living, and
I
I
do.
know by law you can't tell me which books you've ghost written,
Nope.
but yeah.
I do have a couple of clients who are happy to have me talk about working with them. But
Okay, got it. So I'm actually curious on how many books you have ghostwritten. And,
oh,
and then what is your experience in ghostwriting? Because a lot of people, they think I hire a ghostwriter, I become a published author, and it just goes from there, right? So I've never worked with a ghostwriter before. I've always written my own books. I encourage people to write their own books, but ghostwriting is a great option as well, especially if you're a business person, a busy person, a mom, business owner. So tell me the structure. Why is it so important, and why you, and how many? That's a lot of
yeah,
questions.
that's a lot of questions. So right now, the total number of books that we have finished is 25. We have one that we're getting out the door later. Well, I guess in February, next month.
Okay.
Um, so it's a good number. And
Yeah.
they're varying lengths, a lot of smaller books, a lot of ebooks, a lot of self-published stuff. And then I think we've had 6 books traditionally published.
Okay.
I think 6 seems like the right number. I have a traditional publishing contract for my book that's coming out in the fall. And that one aligns with the nonprofit. And um, yeah, so
Yeah.
that's the number. So why ghostwriting? So ghostwriting, I recommend for people who, like you said, have the story, but either don't have the time or don't have the skill or some combination of both.
Okay.
And so, like, I've had a few clients where English is their second language,
Mm-hmm.
and they want the book published, written and published in English, but getting the story out in English is just an arduous task because they're translating everything in their head. Um, And so for those sorts of people, ghostwriting is a really great option. There's actually a study done by Josh Bernoff, who's in the publishing world, this year about business book ROI. And one of the things that they found is that every single person in the study that hired a ghostwriter saw a significant ROI. And
Okay.
the reason for that is less about the actual writing of the book, although that helps. When you have a ghostwriter on the team, publishers know that the book that's coming to them is done according to their standards.
Got it.
Right. And so it makes that a little more seamless. We also know what publishers are looking for in proposals and things like that because we're in the market, we're in the network, and we're talking to them all the time. Um, but as a ghostwriter, I do a lot of marketing and positioning with the book
Mm-hmm.
before it comes out.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're not just doing the book for our clients. We end up doing their lead magnet. We make sure their website's up to snuff. We make sure there's an email marketing campaign linking the lead magnet to the book. We make sure that after the book, there's maybe an online course or some other way to engage with that person's ecosystem. Um, and so I've had clients who see a significant ROI before the book is actually out because we've created that ecosystem.
That's wonderful. That's awesome to know. Now, how long have you had your business for?
I started writing in 2019 and then flipped to an agency model in 2022 because I had
Okay,
to work.
awesome. Okay, so yeah, a lengthy period of time. Now, when you were in school, let's take us back, Maria. Did you enjoy writing?
Always, 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 always. So it's actually funny. My first majors in college, I double majored in journalism and social work.
Okay.
And then everybody told me I couldn't make a living as a writer. Social work's going to burn you out. You can't be a mom and a writer in a journalism capacity because you're not going to have enough time. I listened to all of those things.
Yeah.
Then I landed in education 8 major changes later. And now I write for mental health professionals.
Yeah.
So,
You know, God puts us through journeys,
yeah.
temptations, adversities in our life where we can then use them to help other people.
Mhm.
And that's something that I've realized in my journey, right? I don't believe that God wanted me to go through an extremely severe abusive relationship. However, he is able to turn broken pieces into beautiful things, able to use everybody's story, no matter what that story is. And everything leading up to that story and beyond is what will prepare you for what you are meant to do. And it sounds to me that you were always meant to share stories and help other people get their stories heard. So God just prepared you in different ways along your journey because oftentimes human beings, we're a little stubborn, right? And we want to do it our way. And in the end, our destination is always the same.
Right. Yeah, teaching was always something like I sort of landed in it. It was easy for me. It
Yeah.
was something that I could kind of skate through, right? And I enjoyed it, but it wasn't like it fueled me in any way.
Yeah.
And there were certain pieces of it that did, certainly. So when I was paralyzed, it was my whole body, right? It was my legs, which is what people often think of, but also my arms stopped working, my jaw stopped working, I couldn't talk. And so I was in the hospital for a few days. Around the third day, my hands and arms started working. And that was the first thing to start working. So my jaw still wasn't working. I still couldn't talk, but I could write. And when I look back on that now, I sort of laugh and I'm like, whether it's God, universe, spirit, whatever you believe in, it's like, okay, that was funny. I hear you.
I hear you. Mm-hmm.
Right. But like, I kind of needed to be completely stopped in my tracks and even like locked in my own head in order to figure that out.
Yeah. And I think that that resonates well with a lot of our audience members, thinking they may not have their story, thinking that, they are stuck in this dead end job. In reality, they know deep down inside what purpose they have. And it's just saying yes to that calling. And oftentimes you have to be
That's
pushed
hard.
into a corner, which is very, very hard. Yeah, very, very hard. So, Maria, this podcast is called Voices of Impact. And we've already heard so much of the impact that you are making. What is your goal for impact on this planet?
Right now, the direction that I'm most excited about is making sure that folks who suffer some sort of big cataclysmic life change, whether that's illness, injury, leaving an abusive relationship, whatever it is, that they understand that there's something on the other side.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the work we're doing in the nonprofit. That's my book that's being published with Morgan James. It's called Part-Time Entrepreneur, but it's really like, let's redefine success. I'm probably changing the name, so don't
That's okay.
my name, not the book title, if you're looking
Yeah,
for it.
Maria Chapman, guys.
um, but it's really like, how can we redefine success? How can we burn down that corporate ladder and rebuild our own path?
Mm-hmm.
Because it wasn't built for us anyway. There was like it just wasn't.
I love that. That's awesome. So, how can people get a hold of you, Maria?
Oh, they can get a hold of me. The best website right now is connectedghostwriting.com. There's
That
tons
with
of
a C?
resources. Connected
With a
Ghostwriting.
C?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Connected with a C. Connected ghostwriting. So
Yeah.
spelled correctly.
Spelled correctly, as if I'm a literacy person.
Yeah, there you go.
And so on there, there's all kinds of resources for writers looking to publish, looking to share their stories. I try to make the blog sort of a comprehensive, like, how do I write a book and get it out in the world resource so that you don't even need to hire me to do it. And I have a book writing starter kit on there too for anybody looking to share their story that way. I'm also on Instagram and Facebook at Maria F. Chapman and at Connected Ghostwriting LLC.
I love that. And I'm sure a lot of our audience members are interested in looking at some of your resources and possibly working with you. I know that this is a short and brief podcast interview. Any last words of wisdom for our audience members?
Yes. This is I end almost every interview with this, and that is that your story is your link to connecting with other people, and connecting with other people is your link to success, whatever that success looks like for you. You have to share your story. And it doesn't mean you have to tell all the dirty details. You can leave some of it out. But you have to share your story in order to connect with people, and you have to connect with people in order to find success.
Yeah, I love it. And you are so right. It's so interesting how you and I have a lot of overlap and our desire to help people tell their stories and why it's so important. So, Maria, thank you so much for being here. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been another episode of Voices of the Impact. Look forward to seeing you next time.
Thank you.